look at what happens when we're dividing integers. So, because multiplication and division are so closely related, the same rules that we just saw apply for dividing integers. So, but why do I say that multiplication and division are closely related? So let's just remember this. If I have, for example, 18 divided by 4, what is the other way that I can write this? I can write it as 8 divided by 4. Agree? And this 8 divided by 4 is the same as saying 8 times 1 quarter. Agree? And you see, I went from division to multiplication because division is only the inverse operation of multiplication. And we can represent it always, a division can always be represented by the multiplication with a fraction. Agree? So all the same rules that we had before applies in this case. So let's look at this. Let's look at the cases. Let's do it simple, remaining with 8 divided by 4. So if I have 8 divided by 4, it's going to be, we know the answer is going to be 2. If I have 8 divided by -4, so I'm starting in the positive, then I'm going into the negatives. So this negative is going to throw me into the negative, so my answer is going to be -2. Okay. Now if I have -8 divided by 4, again, so if I have a -8 and I divide it by 4, I'm starting in the negatives. I'm being divided by a positive, so I remain in the negatives. So my answer is still -2. And the last case is if I have -8 divided by -4. So I'm in the negative, divided by another negative is going to throw me into the positive, so my answer is +2. Okay? So as you can see, the same rules that we saw before applies. I have here the negative, one negative, and it remains negative. I have one negative here. And it's negative here. And when I have two negatives, it's like they cancel each other and then it becomes positive. Okay? Same signs. When I have the same signs, +8 and +4, and remains in the positive. When I have -8 and -4, it becomes positive. When I have one of each, then I land in the negative side. Perfect. Now add powers and square roots. So if I have something like, for example, if I have something like 4 squared. So try to remember from year 7, what does it mean when I have a number to the power of 2? It doesn't mean 4 times 2. It means 4 times 4. So it means that I'm multiplying 4 twice. So I have 4 times 4, which we know that is going to be equal to 16. Okay? Now, let's look at what happens if I have something like -4 square. What will it mean? So I have -4 times -4, and -4 times -4 is going to be equal to, we know that in starting the negatives, I'm going to be timesing by another negative, so it's going to throw me to the other side of the number line. So it's going to end up in 16. So it means that 4 square and -4 square have the same answer. That is 16. Okay, interesting. Because now, if I look at this, let's look another example here. But I'm going to do it in the middle for a reason. Let's look at the square root of 16. So the square root of 16, what is it going to be? So the square root, remember that we're thinking which number times itself is equal to 16. So we already have it here. It's 4. But what we have discovered now is that it's not only 4, but also -4. Therefore, the answer to the square root of 16 is equal to positive and negative 4. You're going to see this a lot, and it's saying that both solutions are possible because the square root of 16 can be either positive 4 or negative 4. Okay? Now, let's look at an interesting case here. What happens if I want to do the square root of negative 16? Is that possible? With real numbers, with the numbers that we have studied so far. Is there a way that I can multiply a number by itself and get to negative 16? So as far as we know numbers so far, and I'm saying this very explicitly because later on, as you continue your studies, you will learn other types of numbers, of other types of another family number. But so far with what we have studied so far with integers, if we're only considering integers here, I can't get to negative 16 because if I have positive 4, it's going to be positive 16, and if I have negative 4, it's also going to be positive. So this is not a possibility so far. There is no an answer for negative 16, okay? Now, the other example that I wanted to do is the following. Let's look at what happens if I have negative 2 to the power of 3. What will the answer be? So negative 2 to the power of 3 is the same as negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2. Okay, I know that the magnitude of the number that I'm looking here is going to be 8. We already know that because 2 times 2 times 2 is equal to 8. But what is its sign? Is it positive or negative? So let's think about it. I have my number line. I'm starting at negative 2. And when I have another negative, it's going to throw me into the positive. So I'm in 2. In 4 here. And so I'm in the positive side. And then I find another negative. What is going to happen now? I jump again back. So in this case, I have 3. I have 3 negative signs. So my answer is going to be negative 8. And you will do more of these questions in your exercises. What I'm going to cover today is what is called directed numbers. And this is only because you're going to be seeing these examples in this term in your questions. And it's related to integers. And some of you already know that directed numbers are numbers with a direction. That's what it is. So there are numbers with a direction. Some examples of these are, let's say, positive 2, and they write the positive sign to indicate that it's going in the positive direction, or negative 3. Agree? This positive can mean depending on what type of the context, but it can mean that, for example, it's to the right. That's usually the convention because of the number line, or that is up. And the negative sign usually can mean that it's moving to the left or down. So in some of the questions, you're going to see things like, for example, they're going to ask you, what is positive 8 times negative 9? Things like this. And they're using directed numbers just to make it very explicit that they're talking about a positive 8. But we know that we usually don't write the positive 8 when we're talking about numbers. Only we don't draw the positive sign, because every time that we don't have a sign, it is understood that is a positive number. Okay, what is the answer for this one, by the way? So I'm starting on the positives. 8 times I find a negative, so it's going to throw me to the negative side. So this is going to be equal to negative 72. Okay, girls, this concludes our lesson for today. I hope you find it useful.